So if you're looking for a haunted pub later on, come down here and take your pick. The White Hart Inn is the most haunted pub here, haunted by a disfigured man called Jack and a pair of disembodied legs. But I want to talk about executions here, because this was one of the main sites of public execution in Old Edinburgh. 20,000 people would turn up here to watch the grisly hangings. Now they just stay at home and watch Love Island instead. But one of the most famous hangings to take place here was the hanging of a young woman called Maggie Dixon in 1728. Now you'll never believe why they hanged this girl. Concealment of pregnancy. It was against the law for a woman to be pregnant and hide it, because the law assumed if you were hiding your pregnancy, you must want your baby to die. So a woman had 1 month to announce her pregnancy to the world, or she'd be sentenced to death. Isn't that terrible? Now Maggie Dixon, she was only 19, she wasn't married, so when she got pregnant she was terrified and she kept it a secret. And the baby was born prematurely and sadly died, so they hanged her in this square here for that. They would let the body hang for half an hour, cut it down, into the coffin, off to the graveyard. But on the way to the graveyard to bury Maggie Dixon, they heard a banging sound from inside the coffin. They opened up the coffin lid and she was still alive. She had survived the hanging. So they let Maggie Dixon live, and she went on to live a further 40 years. She became a big celebrity in this part of Edinburgh, and they called her Half Hingit Maggie. Now there's even a pub named after her here in the Grassmarket Square, and if you keep looking to the left hand side, we're going to pass by Maggie Dixon's pub. Now it's painted blue, and they're doing some construction work on it just now, so there's some scaffolding outside it. But look for the blue pub called Maggie Dixon's on the left here, named after the woman herself from 17... Oh, they've taken the sign off, the sign's gone from last night, but the blue one there with the light on in it, that's Maggie Dixon's pub. They must be doing it up. Anyway, as we travel along the road here, where this crowd is gathered ahead of us here on the left hand side, that's where the gallows used to stand. So the hangings actually happened at this end of the square here where the crowd is, and there's a winding street going up the hill here. That's the old West Bow, and that's haunted by the ghost of Major Thomas Weir, the wizard of the West Bow. He was burned alive as a male witch in 1670, and he also confessed to adultery, bestiality with a sheep, and incest with his sister Jean. Busy man, Thomas Weir. But have a look out the windows on the right hand side. This is the outer wall of Greyfriars Kirkyard, the most haunted graveyard on earth. And on the TV screens I'll show you what it looks like inside the graveyard. There it is. Now they reckon there's about 500,000 bodies buried there, and they call it the City of the Dead. I'm going to tell you the famous ghost story about the place in just a moment. But before we do that, let's talk about Greyfriars Bobby. On the left hand side here, the Greyfriars Bobby. Now that wee dog sat on top of his dead master's grave every single day for 14 years. Isn't that a lovely story? That man would just not let go of that dog's leash. The graveyard continues on the right hand side. Now if you're planning to go into that graveyard, please stay away from this tomb on the TV screens now. This is the final resting place of a very evil